Hello there. I'm Nan Simonson. I'm the author of Aging Powerfully, and I have a 6-day challenge. And being a health and wellness coach at Lifestyle Medical, I am entrenched in the lifestyle as medicine model. Hippocrates, almost 2,500 years ago, said, "Let medicine be thy, or let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food," and that our body will heal itself when given the right care. And that care is a balanced modality of uh, pillars on which our body can depend. And I'm offering 6 pillars of health daily for 6 days, recommendations. And the challenge is just to pick up the gauntlet every day and do something that I'm recommending. The 6 pillars that I'm referring to are: number one, eat more plants. We talked about that on Thursday. On Friday, we talked about love more, meaning community. On Saturday, yesterday, we spoke of sleep, getting sufficient sleep. And today, we're talking about movement. Our body doesn't work if it doesn't move. I use the analogy, at least in the mental comparison, of a car sitting in a garage or a piece of equipment. My husband had a boat that sat out of water for, what, 3 years? And when he went to sell it, everything was clogged up. Nothing was working. Things that were liquid had become gels or solid. That happens to our body. Hi, Linda. Good to see you today. Good afternoon. It's over 100 here in Riverside, California, and we just got back from. Well, let me tell you how I live what I talk about. At 6:45 this morning, and I've had people say, "But Nan, it's hot. I can't go out and exercise." Well, yesterday was the same thing. Today is the same thing, and that is by 6:45 I was out of the house. My husband and I went on an hour-and-a-half bike ride. So we rode in the cool of the morning. We rode a vigorous hour-and-a-half. We have this trek. We go to bed early enough so that we can get up early enough so that we can exercise every day. He goes at 5:30 in the morning up our nearby mountain, Mount Rubidoux, with his daughter. I now go at about 6:15, 6:30 because I stay up a little later than him. I go to bed, but I read for usually 45 minutes or an hour. Hi, Bernice. Good to see you. And movement means everything to me, and I think it means everything to my health, because if I didn't keep moving at 70, everything would slow down. Just the ability to move. You can see that in a rather dramatic way when somebody hurts themselves and they are in a sling or in a cast. You can see the physical atrophy. You can watch the degradation of the muscles. We can't let that happen. So let's talk about exercise today. And I'd love to hear from you about any of your experiences so far with the things that we have covered, and that is the your challenge to um, eat at least one meal a day, or maybe one day a week, but one meal a day that is completely plant-based. Love to hear about that. I'd love to hear about your experience with getting enough sleep from yesterday. If you had a chance to work on that at all, I'd love to hear about your experience with uh, community, because I gave you a couple of challenges with that. So you're welcome to chatter with me now or later. Even though I'm kind of on a roll, and so I'll be paying a little more attention to my own notes than to the comments. All right, our World Health or the World Health Organization, as a general guideline for human health, recommended at least 150 minutes um, a week uh, dedicated to exercise, dedicated to movement. If you break that down in a 16-hour day, that's only 2 minutes 2 minutes an hour, but kind of doesn't work that way. I'm not going to put in 2 minutes now and then 2 minutes in the next hour and 2 minutes in the next hour and think I've gotten it taken care of. I was much better off counting that brisk walk after a meal, let's say, or and we'll talk a little bit more about what we mean by movement, but use that as a guideline, at least 150 minutes um, a week. Build up from there if you want better than average health, because look around you, average health isn't very impressive right now. Um, how do you go about that? Why not first identify the things that you could do that are safe? We're all in a different place in our lives physically and in terms of capacity. Because I have always believed in movement, because I've always taken walks in the morning, very brisk walks. I took a class on race walking, and so my arms pump me forward, and the more vigorously they pump, the more vigorously my legs move. And because I got the race walking training, that little duck kind of wiggle works in there, because everything is sort of gliding in unison, and I can go very, very fast that way. Um, and so that's how, when I walk. And unless you've done something like that, that may not be safe for you to start off with. So determine what for you is safe. Determine what for you you're willing to do. What would be a kind of movement, a kind of an exercise that you could get behind. You may not have been in a bike most of your life. Maybe you never liked bike riding, and that's the last thing you would want to do. I adore it. We're going to be going away for a while at the beginning of August, up to Northern California, and the first thing I did when we booked the Airbnb was ask the fella if there was a place nearby for us to rent a bike, because we almost always go wherever we go and rent bikes, and then we take long walks in the morning and then bike to different places later in the day, because there's always maps that are available from a bike store of where the trails are. And that's what we like to do. If that's not on your radar, then you'll be thinking differently than that. um, We've talked about at least 25 to 30 minutes a day. Did you know that even a 4-second intense action or intense activity will help mobilize your stored metabolites and enhance your cardiovascular system? So that kind of thing where you suddenly jump up and you do a really quick jog for even 4 seconds can make a difference. So don't discount the possibility of movement that matters when you truly don't have a lot of time in your day. Develop a plan and develop habits around it. What I said earlier, going to bed in time, to get up in time, to be able to walk in the morning before it gets hot, has taken away the potential that even on the hottest day, I won't get out there and walk or ride, because we're there early enough, and even on the hottest day, we can get that ride in. Tim goes at 5:30 because he doesn't even like it as warm as what I'm fine with. So consider, if you haven't made a plan of that magnitude, and by magnitude I'm saying it's not a big deal, but in other words, it's specific. Get what you need out and ready. I go into my closet, everything I wear, the breathable shirts, the skirt, if I'm going up the mountain, the shorts under the little short skirt, because that I like the movement of that, but I like the protection of the little shorts underneath, or your yoga pants. But you got to have your shoes, you got to have your socks, everything's got to be ready. Even the little tube of moisturizer is right there by the socks, because the first thing that happens is that the squirt of moisturizer goes on my hands, and I moisturize my feet, put on the socks, put it in the shoe, and then do the next one. Why? because our feet get dry, especially when we wear sandals a lot during the summertime, and it helps protect that cracking on the back of the heels that can be so painful. So that's one way of doing it. In other words, get your habits going, have your equipment ready, be ready to make it work for you. Um, Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to say about that. Um, oh, even consider an accountability partner. I've never thought of what my husband and I end up doing as a form of accountability, but I thought when I was looking at that, and a number of these are just from my book. My book was heavily researched, and you'll find that chapter after chapter, and I have what 6 or 7 pages on movement, has a lot of bullet point good ideas. Well, but you know what? It is a form of accountability, because one of us will never say to the other, there's sort of a kind of a pride in there, oh, I don't feel like going, I'm not going. The two of us simply exercise every day. It's kind of non-negotiable. And if you can find somebody that you can set up a walk with, a run with, a meeting at the gym with, meet at the park. Our park now, most parks have all kinds of equipment that look really simple on the ground, but allow you to use your body weight as resistance. And we'll talk about resistance in just a minute. Let me see. Um, okay. Find excuses to move. Find an excuse like after lunch or after dinner or after both, you go for a walk. Why? Because it helps move your gastrointestinal tract, and it helps the food digest better and helps it come out when it's supposed to better. Leave things upstairs to force you to have to go up there and get them. I know that I need my shoes to go on my walk at night, but I don't take them off downstairs in the morning and leave them there, because I want the excuse to go back up at night and get my shoes. It's just every time I go up the stairs, it's exercise. I now can easily go 2 steps at a time. That's really good for the hamstrings. That's really good for the glutes. Don't do that if you haven't. And if you without and even I do it holding on to the handrail, or at least putting my hand on it, because if you tweak yourself sideways when you're going 2 steps at a time, you can hurt your knee. But again, find an excuse. When the phone rings, stand up, get on your phone, and pace as if the person had just walked in the room and you're greeting them. Use any phone call as an excuse to get up and pace around. Sitting is the new smoking, and a lot of us can, without thinking about it, sit for hours at a time. Don't let yourself sit more than a half an hour. Make an hour almost the deadline, as if it's so urgent you must stand up. My husband even does that as a CPA and an attorney. When he has a long appointment, he'll stand and kind of back up so he's not towering over his clients, just to say, oh, I've got to stretch out for a minute. And he does that because he knows, I know, that sitting makes things kind of get stagnant. For example, your lymphatic system, unlike your blood, doesn't have a pump, and therefore needs to have some kind of movement to keep that going, and that is your part of your immunity system. And I'll even say that again if I think about it, because it's really important to know. Um, Park your car the minute you pull into a parking lot somewhere. Just don't do that game playing of I'll wait for the best spot. That makes me insane when I see that. Everybody's congested at the front of, let's say, Costco, waiting for a car to get out. That's ridiculous. Pull in, pull into a parking space, and then just walk. And then you have to walk back. And if you walk back, why not do it as a little bit of a trot or a race walk? You're getting in movement that's actually really enjoyable, that you're not even thinking about. That's your excuse to take some extra steps. Let me see if I found anything else. Play music and get your dance bug going. Have music on in your house all the time, or as often as, well, you enjoy it. And then just move to it. Move your arms, move your legs. I heard somebody, oh, Rita Moreno, who is now in a play on Broadway, is 85 or 86 years old. She looks remarkable. She was in West Side Story, and some of you are too young to even remember that. Uh, Puerto Rican firebomb of a dancer. And you know what she says? She says she plays music and she pretends that she is the conductor. So she's moving her arms and getting a lot of energy into it. She said it's great. And she'll use her arms in a number of ways, so it's great for her upper body movement. I'd never thought about that. So dance or conduct, one or the other, or both. And then formalize it somewhat so that you're getting aerobics, and that would be a brisk walk or a bike ride or a cycle on a stationary bike or uh, a treadmill, resistance work. That's using weights, any kind of weights, laying back on your back, pushing forward, so that we can continue to, as we get older, go up and lift things down, or take something heavy and lift it up without possibly straining ourselves or hurting our rotator cuffs. So you want to keep your resistance going, and that body works there too. You stand back slightly from a desk or a counter and do push-ups that way. Again, it keeps the strength. Do some lunges. Do your, I've talked about this, shower squats, where I take my shower and squeegee with a full squat with each squeegee, which is like 25 squats every time I take a shower. That's a great excuse, but also that's giving me some body weight resistance. And let me make sure I didn't miss any. Oh, and then coordination and movement. I was at a conference, a 5-day conference at the beginning of this month, and Joel Furman was there, and he showed us exercises for coordination and balance. He says the older that we get, and some of you are young here, but it applies to everybody. The older that we get, the more we lose balance and can hurt ourselves by in a situation where we would, if we were more tuned in to the core strength of our body, we would catch ourselves. If you don't do side to side movements and back and forth movements, you could fall back, and instead of knowing to put one leg back, you continue to fall. That's part of movement, and that's where things like Tai Chi and Zumba and yoga come in. And again, consider arranging classes like that with a friend. Plant a garden, and that's another excuse to do some movement that you otherwise wouldn't. I did a, gosh, I don't know, a 2 or 3 hour garden clean out a few weeks ago, and I hadn't for a while because the garden had been planted. It was looking really good, and with the change of season, I wanted to renovate. I was sore. I was really surprised. So it showed me that those movements, those twists and those turns really, really make a difference. And let me make sure I've got everything I wanted to say. Why exercise? For one thing, we want it for our bone density. Again, as we get older, especially women, we tend to, because our estrogen diminishes, we tend to get weaker bones, osteopenia, osteoporosis. Don't take pills for that. Use weight bearing exercise before you ever need to, and eat lots of leafy greens. Remember, your leafy greens are most bioavailable in terms of calcium when you use citrus with them. So make your salad dressings, or your squeeze over your kale, for example, steamed kale, a bit of lemon to make that more available. But you're doing it for bone health. You're doing it because your lymphatic system needs to get working, and exercise helps reduce chronic disease because you're moving your entire body and keeping your organs um, toned. It improves function and performance. You can't do much if you don't do much. And keep telling yourself that. It slows aging. It keeps your blood pumping through the cells and keeps the cells fresh and keeps the old ones being sloughed off, which doesn't happen efficiently if you're not moving regularly, and adds variety and experience to your life, especially when you add different forms of exercise. Ultimately, you want a balance of aerobic. You want, uh, let's say around 35% aerobic, flexibility and balance and coordination, another 35 to 40% strength training, and then give yourself recovery time in between your more intense exercise. And finally, let me make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Um, Finally, don't be hard on yourself. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Don't look at what others can do and judge that you aren't or haven't been doing enough. Diane Reeves says, I swam 45 minutes this morning. That is fabulous. I felt so good. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. We like to walk in the evenings. Tim and I do that every night after dinner, 30 minutes every night. And it makes a big difference in digestion and just feels good. It's a connection time. Calisthenics and muscle tensing. I forgot about that. Do isometrics, where you sit back, for example, and pull your navel straight back to your back. That helps tone your stomach. That's an isometric. Tighten your glute muscles. Like right now, I'm tightening my glutes. Ladies, don't forget your Kegel exercises, those that strengthen your pelvic floor and pull things up and keep them tight, because we have a tendency from carrying children, bearing children, and losing our musculature down there to have prolapse, and that's no fun. Greg uses an ergonomic desk and a chair that's very smart. A lot of people have standing desks. Thank you for sharing. And Voltaire said something a long, long time ago, and I'll paraphrase it. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. He said perfect isn't the enemy of the good, and I'll say it to you this other way. Don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. Don't overthink, over evaluate, over compare. I've taken something on and I'm trying very hard not to do that. And that is that I am in, what, 14 weeks now, 13 weeks now. On October 23rd, I'm running a 10K race. I've never ever done that. I've never run in any kind of an event because I've always thought I wasn't a runner. I know you've heard me say this, but I'm going to run a 10K, and I'm trying to stop myself from getting totally neurotic about pacing. I said to my husband, I want to run a 10-minute mile. I want to be one of the fastest 70-year-old plant-based people to make a point. So I'm going to get into that kind of thing, and I could hurt myself if I'm not careful. I just need to kind of back off and do my plan and have a plan. Look at somewhere you'd like to see yourself in the future. For me, it's a 10K race, and look at what it's going to take. There's an app, or it's actually a .com, five or couch to 5K, couch to 10K, that will actually put you on a program to be able to, within, for example, 12 weeks with the 10K, take you from a couch to a 10K race with respectable numbers. And I'm using that program, and that's helpful because it kind of ratchets back that tendency to want to go too far. All right, people, I am so happy that you're going to that you were here. I'm going to post not all of these notes, but I'm going to post my bullet points, and you'll be able to download that. Please share with me more about how you're doing. This is day 4 of our 6. Our next 2 days will be on dangerous substances. That's number 6. And let me be mindful of what number 5 is. Hold on. Be present is number 5, or number 6, which is being present and not getting stuck in dangerous substances. And, well, people, oh, and stress relief is tomorrow, because that's one of the most dangerous things a lot of us deal with. We are stressed a lot without even thinking about it. We watch TV and get stressed. And that is one of the most dangerous things that we can do to our body, because it actually changes the way you digest and the way your heart pumps blood without your even knowing it. So we'll take a look at that as well, and you'll have some thoughts on that. So thank you for joining me. I hope you're having a great day, because I know I am. Thank you, people. Bye bye.